They are the insiders, Chris Johnston and Pierre LeBrun. Gentlemen, with the Players Association rolling out their new executive director, it brought up a number of key issues. Pierre, you spoke with Marty Walsh. What's he see as the priority right now?
Well, there's certainly more than one, but certainly I think his desire is to have greater player engagement on CBA issues and issues between CBAs, if you know what I mean. Because traditionally, players have really only cared about these issues whenever it's time to renegotiate a CBA. And I think what the PA wants under Marty Walsh is greater player participation in between those events. And as a specific example, since Marty Walsh has taken over, the NHLPA has started discussing the playoff format with players across the league. They're early in these discussions, but the point is they want to know from players, do you like the playoff format? Do you want to change it? And if so, what do you want it to look like? Who knows if they'll find consensus? But it's an example of wanting player engagement on different issues, and it's an interesting one.
Chris, Walsh also took time to share some interesting news that could impact the salary cap.
Absolutely. I mean, it was only a couple weeks ago we were in Florida at the GM's meeting. Gary Bettman indicated a willingness to negotiate with the new NHLPA leadership on potentially seeing next year's cap go up by more than $1 million. Well, what I'll tell you right now is don't wait too long for that negotiation to happen, because I don't expect there to be much grounds for it to happen, because Marty Walsh didn't really get into a lot of specifics in his first press conference, but he was pretty clear he doesn't want to see any change to the escrow. That was a big win for the players in the last round of negotiations, and that was what the league was seeking, to see the cap go up by more than $1 million. So I think the players at this point are comfortable just with that small bump for next year, with the knowledge that the year beyond that it's going to go up a lot more once their debt to the owners is repaid from the pandemic.
Yeah, and in a related story, it's hard to talk about the cap and escrow without bringing up hockey-related revenue, and that can't help but bring into question the situation with the Coyotes right now, Pierre.
Yeah, and listen, as CJ noted, there were a bunch of topics that Marty Walsh wanted to be careful on because he has to sort of read himself more on them. This was not one of them. I had a chance to speak with Marty Walsh sort of to the side after his news conference. I asked him about the Coyotes situation, and he said, quote, "These are National Hockey League players playing in a college stadium that has got to be addressed," end quote. So he was pretty firm on his concern right out of the gates here about what's happening in Arizona. And yes, he referred to the fact that there's a vote coming in May, and that's a vote from citizens of Tempe, Arizona, to go ahead or not with the plan by the Coyotes to build a new arena in Tempe in 3 to 4 years. But it's one of the few examples I would say here early on of an item that has certainly grabbed the attention of Marty Walsh.
Yeah, and as the former Secretary of Labor, Walsh certainly understands politics, and he has a political hot potato to deal with when it comes to the World Cup right now, Chris.
He does, and I think he almost wants to leave that political stuff aside in the early going, because he wants to get discussions going with the NHL in the relatively near future on potential plans for this World Cup in February 2025. And we know it's been so long since the league has been able to stage a best-on-best event. Marty Walsh knows this is a priority for a number of players in his membership. And, really, I think his thoughts are, let's not wait to see what happens with the Russia situation in Ukraine. Let's first plan the event and then deal with those sort of decisions down the road. And I think that is a political hot potato, because it's going to mean he's going to have discussions with Russian members of his union and let them know that they could potentially be moving ahead without them if they have to go that route and the conflict isn't resolved.
And CJ, you're also playing the role of entertainment insider today, a celebrity sighting in the nation's capital to tell us about?
Absolutely. There's people involved in this senator's sale that have much bigger pockets than Ryan Reynolds, but no one has a bigger star power or engagement online. And so when he shows up in Ottawa, as he did on this day, it does make some news and get some attention. He's there with the Remington Group, with Christopher Brady, his partner in this bid. And I think what's interesting is all the remaining 6 bidders are going through this process right now where they're visiting the nation's capital. They get to meet with senators, leadership, ask them questions, go to a game. But, by Reynolds showing up with the Remington Group, it reinforces that he is committed to that group, because I do know that some of the other bidders are willing to bring Reynolds on late if they end up emerging as the winner. But it looks like he is sticking to that Remington Group.
Chris, with all the latest Van City news, they are the insiders, Chris Johnston and Pierre LeBrun.